Hey everybody, and welcome to WEEZCAST. I'm your host, Aidan Morden, with co-host
Stephen Prindler
and special guest
Jon Simms.
Unfortunately, our other co-host was unable to make it today due to unforeseen circumstances, but was able to send in some clips with his thoughts on the songs. So today we are going to be listening to Hurley, which was released in 2010. It is arguably one of Weezer's strangest albums, in my opinion anyway, but we're going to go listen to that, and then we will be back to discuss it. We are back from listening to Hurley on vinyl. As I said before, Caleb was not able to join us in person, but for most of the songs, we'll start out with his opinion just so we don't get too much repetition. So Caleb is going to start us off with Memories.
Alright, so my thoughts on Memories. Such a fun, catchy song. Love the melody and the synth in it. I wouldn't say it's an awful song. It's like pretty decent. Like it's just a fun, catchy song in general. And I think it's a good starter off in my opinion.
John, what are your thoughts on this one?
Honestly, I haven't really listened to Weezer much before, or at all. I couldn't really pick out any of their songs. So it was a bit of learning this song and adjusting to Weezer's style in general.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird one to start.
It was. I like the tune. It definitely kind of pulled you into the album. You know, it was upbeat, and it's like, okay, we're going, we're off to the races, kind of thing. I thought when it mentions Dutch kids, it was pretty specific. And I was kind of wondering what.
I'm going to explain that, but I want
Freaky Dutch kids.
Yeah, but that's kind of my takeaway. Wasn't a whole lot.
I like that off to the
immersing
races,
myself,
basically. Yeah. Steven?
Oh, me next. Yeah, I like the chorus for the song. It's fun, but I don't like the rest of it. Like the first verse is pretty vulgar. The very first word on the album is pissing. So like I didn't like that very much. The other verses aren't vulgar, but I don't know. Like I didn't like the bridge either. So the chorus is really the only part that I like, but it is a really good chorus.
It is.
Yeah, and I like the way that River sings in this song. He's I don't know what he does with his voice, but he sounds so like
angsty.
Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of angst on this album.
Yeah,
I noticed
on this album in general, but especially in this song and I think the second song. I like the way that he sings.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing. That's also by his singing. This is one part where he goes. It's really funny.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off by saying the reason why the lyrics are so odd. This song, which I don't. Sometimes artists will make a song for a movie or whatever, and then they don't even include it on the album. It's just released on the movie soundtrack. And I know you've seen the SNL skit about Weezer, and actually Matt Damon mentions that they did a song for the Jackass soundtrack. So the reason the lyrics are so weird is because this song was written for one of the Jackass movies. So, actually, there's like backing vocals that are group vocals, and it's actually like Bam Margera. I don't know if it's Margera, how you say his last name, and like Phil, I think, and like all those guys. So they're actually doing the group vocals on that. So he's singing about stuff that the guys on Jackass did, because they do some pretty stupid stuff. But yeah, I actually 100% agree with Steven that like the chorus is like really good. It's catchy, it's fun. The whole song's upbeat, but the lyrics are really off-putting, especially the first verse. But the only thing other than the chorus that I like about it is the instrumental part that goes really soft after he says, well, and actually I do like how he's kind of like screams, "I'm freaking bored." Like I kind of like how he screams that, and then it goes into the like it's almost like a lullaby version of the chorus with it sounds like a xylophone or something. I thought that was kind of neat. But yeah, I don't have too much to say about it. Like it's kind of weird that they even included it on the album, let alone making it the first song on the album, because I feel like if I was somebody who didn't listen to Weezer and I was just by choice like, oh, I'm going to check out this album, and I put it on, I'd be like, wow, I'm going to listen to anything else. So I'm gonna turn it over to Caleb for ruling me.
Like the chorus of the song, it's catchy and fun. This whole album is fun. So most of Weezer's songs are either fun and catchy, or they're like whatever, or they kind of suck. And
Fair.
this album seems to be one of the more fun ones. Harmonics are not bad at all. And I'd say it's a decent song overall as well.
John, what are your thoughts on Ruling Me?
Well, first thing about this one, it definitely had my favorite chorus on the album. I don't know. It was just I like melodies. I like when I can appreciate like the kind of raspy singing style,
Yeah.
but I like when it's heartfelt emotion that kind of just goes with the chorus. Um, Honestly, I felt like it kind of switched styles too, partway through the song, or from verse to chorus. So it was two very different
Yes.
playing styles, where the chorus was just full of energy, and then the rest of the song was a little more subdued. And I thought it was cool too because it's like something that most people can relate to at some point in their lives, where it was like you're just hung up on somebody,
Yeah, everybody needs someone.
they're in your head, and they're just kind of controlling you, and you're letting it get way too much. You're letting it affect your life way too much. So I thought that was just like a kind of relatable song.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the noteworthy thing to starting off the song is it's like ska vibes with like all the brass instruments and stuff. And it's kind of cool, but also I hate ska. But if there was ever somebody to do ska and pull it off and me like it, it's Rivers Cuomo. So I actually don't mind that too much. Musically, it's great. Lyrically, it's good. The way that he sings the verses, that I think is the most angsty vocals on the album is in the verses of this.
Yep.
And kind of like John saying, it's like it's relatable with like almost like it becoming an obsession, your interest with somebody. So the chorus, it's like catchy and it's also meaningful and it's sweet, and like the backing vocals I never noticed until listening to it on vinyl. The backing vocals are really, really beautiful in the chorus. But the thing is with the verses is, although it's how he's trying to come across, I think, is it's very like, I'm lusting after you. It's like, this is an obsession. I think even it says lusty lady.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
refers to her as that.
At
It's
one
very
point, yeah.
like, I don't know. It's very, the verses aren't great lyrically, even although they may be relatable. But the chorus, it's so nice. So I feel like what you're saying with the big difference there. Like I feel like the chorus is amazing, but I feel like the verses could be better, musically and lyrically. The one line I really liked in it is, "If I'm a knob, don't fade me." Like a volume knob. He's like, "Don't turn me down."
Oh, that kind
Oh,
of knob.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it meant a doorknob.
Yeah, I know, because I
I
wanted
thought
to
it was
write
just
that
a
down.
knob in general. Like,
Yeah, like you're such a knob. Yeah, because I kind of thought that I wonder if anybody else is gonna catch this. So I thought that was interesting.
I was hoping you would know what that meant.
Yes, because you fade the volume knob down.
That makes sense.
What do you think?
Well, I also wrote this song is good lyrically and musically. I think it is a well balanced song. What I mean when I say good lyrically is not necessarily that the lyrics themselves are good or the meaning is good, but that it's well written. It's written in a way that I understand what he's trying to say, and it seems to be about him. He's crazy about this lady, but she's not giving him attention. Whether because she's playing coy or because she's just not interested, we don't really know. But just that it's driving him crazy. And then the chorus is like kind of fun. And it's like, it is a fun song. It's nice to listen to. I do love the way that he sings in the song. So it's up there.
And I'm gonna turn it to Caleb for Train Wrecks.
I like the way he says train wrecks. It's not an awful song. The little guitar solo in the background of the song, closer to the end, is also really cool. Overall, it's a decent song. It's not awful. Like, there's nothing to tear apart about it.
John, what are your thoughts?
I feel like it wasn't a super deep song. It was, in essence, a story about a couple of train wrecks. You can't really put it any other way. I wouldn't call them failures, but just they're a mess. Their life is a mess. And they know it and don't care. They might want to change some things, but it's a very just kind of like,
Very
lazy-
passive attitude towards it.
Exactly, yeah. Musically, though, I thought it was fine. It was kind of catchy, but like story-wise or meaning in it, it was
Very lacking.
pretty straightforward. Yeah.
I feel like the song is really sad, but at the same time it's kind of hopeful and romantic. Like there's just that hint or spice in there where there's a couple of lines where he says like people criticize us, but it's just because they're jealous of us, and we're still kicking ass, and someday we're gonna rise above the critics, or no, someday we'll rise and we'll teach our critics a lesson or something like that. So it's like the very sparse lyrics throughout the rest of the song that's just really sad and about how their life is a mess, which I feel like I can kind of relate to it in a way that sometimes I feel like my life is a train wreck. Sometimes I feel that way. Sometimes I think that's my story too. I'm just a train wreck, but it's not, because of God who restores me and puts me back on the tracks. I was like, you're not a wreck. You can keep going.
You're just a train.
Yeah, exactly.
And you keep chugga
Rolling down the
chugging.
tracks.
The little engine that could. Well, that couldn't, except for the Lord who sustains me. So, yeah, it's a pretty okay song, I guess, overall.
Okay. I'm going to say for the intro, it makes me wonder and ask a question. Am I in church? No. What I envision when the song opens up and it's got like the choir and the bells and stuff, I feel like I'm walking up to like an old style Roman Catholic church, and then Rivers is in there jamming.
Very
And
interesting.
the thing, I don't really like this song that much. I find it boring. It definitely does have emotion to it, but it's not like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people can relate to it in one regard or another, but it's like not. It doesn't grip me tightly, I guess. But the one thing I noticed in it, which I'm surprised you didn't say anything about, Steven, is he says, "You don't keep passing up a slob. Get freaky now, because I can't keep a job." Because he's referencing Troublemaker.
I thought he was referencing the song
Slob?
Slob.
No.
Yeah.
No, because these lyrics are very close together in Troublemaker.
Okay.
I mean, maybe he's referencing both.
Maybe he just likes singing about how he's a slob.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe he gets called a slob a lot. And maybe there's lots of other things about him that are unspoken.
Wow.
So I'm going to have Caleb start that one off as well.
I friggin' love this song. Probably the best song on the album, for sure. Probably the most relatable song as well on the album, especially the chorus. The verses make you feel happy, but then the chorus sounds like an angry song. It sounds like Rivers is angry in this, and it makes you feel anger. And then like into the third chorus, then the drums come in, and it just builds up the hype, and it's just everything about it is just such a great and fun song. And definitely one of the best songs on this album for sure.
John?
This one was interesting. I felt like the music itself, like regardless of the vocals, told its own story, and you could see a progression from the beginning to the end. Because it starts, pretty low key, and then it moves to almost like a somber kind of vibe, and then it's just full of angst at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And so it wasn't something that just kept going back and forth for the whole song. It was definitely a progression from point A to point B. While listening to it, I kind of couldn't tell whether he hated the hate or loved the hate, though. It was almost something he relied on, but then hated the relationship at the same time. I don't know if you guys felt the same way about that.
That is the kind of stuff I like to hear from my guests.
I also wrote that the song is interesting. I wrote that it seems to be about a toxic relationship, because he writes about how much kind of like their situation sucks. And he says in the chorus, if you take this away from me, there's going to be bad blood, basically. So he's saying like, and that's kind of something that I happen to know about toxic relationships, is that like you want to stay in them, because if you break up, then you hate that person, and you don't want to hate that person because you love them, but you're in this bad situation that you hate. So it's like, it's very complicated, and I really like how the song deals with that, and how the music is so dramatic, and like John said, it builds up over time and gets more and more intense, and then it's just like, oh my gosh. The singing, I hate, actually. I hate the way River's voice sounds in this one. Just more so at the beginning, because there's less instrumental and his voice stands out more. I don't like it.
Really?
Yeah, but then the chorus, it's like, okay, the chorus sounds really nice, and then each time the chorus comes back, it's better. Like, it's just, the chorus is phenomenal.
Yes, I'm gonna say amen to that, brother. Okay, what I want to say about this song is I've actually played this song at work, at soccer, at the Villeneuve's house, like different places, and I've had people in different locations ask, "Is this one of your songs?" When it starts out and it's just the acoustic guitar and him singing, and that is such an honor to me. I love this song, like start to finish, everything about it I love. The way I see it is a little bit differently than what you're saying. I see it as he really wants to make it right with somebody. Like, I would say they're probably already broken up. I also would say this song is a work of fiction based on the fact that Rivers is happily married at this point.
Probably.
But it's still very, very good, very, very emotional. But he wants to right a wrong. It's like they've already broken up and he wants to at least be okay with this person. But he's worried that they won't forgive him because he's the one who messed it up. He's worried, and he's basically saying, not that they would care, but like, if you take this away from me, the chance at having peace with them, like, I'll never forgive you. Like, I see it as he really wants to make amends, and they are withholding that from him, or he's worried that they will. I'm just gonna say the bridge building up from being acoustic, like you're saying with the whole song building, into the last chorus, and that drop when it goes to just vocals, and then it goes, when it hits into the chorus, it punches with 4,000 horsepower. Like, I will say that is, it's almost like a drop.
Oh, I got chills.
It's like a drop, and holy frig. Like, holy freaking crap.
Are you talking about the third time the chorus?
Yeah, like whenever the electric guitar comes in and it's super aggressive, it's like, what a rush.
It's over 9,000.
That part is just like, that's the best part of the album, and that is the hardest drop in any Weezer song, I would say. I absolutely love this song. It is definitely top 2 for this album, and then I love too, after it builds up so much, it's almost like he's exhausted and it calms back down, and then just has like a nice flute outro that's very emotional. So I think start to finish, it's an absolute masterpiece of a song. I love it. If you didn't get that vibe from what I've said so far, I really love it. Now, I will say, if you are a Weezer fan, you may be asking yourself, where's my sex? You don't get any because you're a loser. So, John,
no.
Nope, I'm a Weezer fan, so you can rest assured that is very safe under lock and key. So, John, I would love to hear your thoughts first about this.
Okay.
Because you don't have the context that me and Caleb and Steven have.
I have no context for this song at all. Definitely a weird name right off the bat. Going through it, I was trying to kind of figure out what he was really talking about, and it took me a little sec, and I think I got it, but I don't know. To me, I was just getting the vibe that he couldn't find his socks.
Yes! Oh my gosh!
That was so loud.
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
I'm so
Actually,
jealous because
pretty quickly
he told me that before I ever heard the song. So that kind of...
I stole that from him.
Yeah. I always wanted to, since hearing that song, hear it without knowing that and wonder... I've always wondered what I would think of it, you know?
Yeah.
It just... And I got that maybe a third of the way into the song.
Okay.
But parts... Like, I was pretty sure, but parts of it bothered me because I'm like... Some of the lines of the song were, like, singular, and I'm like, socks is plural. And he was still saying, like... Instead of sec, he was still saying sex.
Yeah.
And so that... I don't know. That irked me a little bit for some reason.
Yeah.
But, you know... I was pretty sure of it as the song went on too, and then eventually the last verse was like, okay, if you haven't figured it out by now, you know, it talks about like being on your feet, touching the carpet, being in your shoes, and I'm like, okay, it's obviously socks. Like, I've been 90% sure.
Now, see, for me, I've been listening to Weezer for about 10 years. So for me, I've been listening to this album for years, and I've like almost never listened to this song because I'm like, that's weird. And then also it's like when the song starts out, it's so gross and yucky that I don't think until recently I ever actually listened to the entirety of the song. So that's why I wouldn't have figured out what it's about, because I was just so like, I don't know, it's gross.
What, your mom never knitted your sex before?
No.
I think that's like the second line.
It's so weird. It's so weird. But now that I have context, although the song still does sound gross, and it's not one I've listened to a lot, it's definitely one of the best on the album. It's probably the third best. I love that he says, "Gosh dang, this is great," because it just kind of brings back, even though they've used a little bit worse language in like a couple songs here and there. Weezer overall is very wholesome, so I feel like this album is a little less wholesome. But the fact that he says "Gosh dang," I really appreciate it. I think it's hilarious. And I'm a little disappointed that I don't get to explain the socks thing. And
So I guess I stole that from you.
I know we're getting a little out of order here, but I'm gonna play Caleb's next, and then have Steven wrap us up for this song.
I really like this one. Not because lyrically, but musically. It's like such a bop. Guitar comes in, gets you hyped. Such a catchy song. Everything about it is musically so great. Then it sounds like it, like for like the solo part or the bridge part, it sounds like it's playing Dope Nose. That's what it sounded like to me. And then it changes back, and it's just fun. And definitely a bop, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say the bridge is kind of weird. It's like almost completely out of place, and it reminds me of one of the later parts in the song "Dreaming" from the Red album.
Oh.
It sounds very similar, actually, to the bridge in "Dreaming."
I cannot even picture it, but I really like the bridge. I like the whole song. My first time listening to the album, this was easily my favorite song on it. It's just really fun the whole way through, and I really liked that it was, a play on words and just funny. I don't know why. It's just him singing about socks, but saying sex. It's just like a really weird thing to do, and
Yeah.
it was quite funny to me. And then since, listening to it several times since my first time, I've kind of thought about, is there like a double meaning to this song? Because he could have just said socks. So maybe he's actually drawing a comparison somehow between socks and sex, saying like he needs to have sex in order for him to feel comfortable and as a status thing, because if he's not having sex, people are going to think he's an alien. Like, I don't know.
Or a Weezer fan.
So, I don't know. It's just like something that always makes me think. And every time I can never really come up with an answer. So it might just be meaningless. I don't know.
Maybe.
But it's still enjoyable.
But I will say that if you didn't run away yet after that song, congratulations. And Runaway is our next song. Caleb?
So Runaway. There's nothing wrong with this song. It's kind of more of a side song, but if you're in the mood for it, it'd still be a great song to listen to. This album is better listened through, I would say. Probably, yeah. That way you can get the whole feel of the album with each song, different feelings from it. And yeah, although it's a side song, it's still a fun song to listen to. And yeah.
This song I really like the lyrics. Like, I think it's really well written. But I don't really like anything else about it. It's, like Caleb said, it's a sad song. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes Weezer does sad songs, but they have, like, the instruments. The music doesn't really match the sad vibe of the lyrics. So it's like, it's just off-putting in a weird way. So I didn't really care for this one.
I thought it was interesting how at first the vocals and like the music were kind of muffled. It was an interesting artistic kind of way of doing it, but I didn't really see the significance of how that kind of added to the song. For me, yeah, it was just kind of a standard breakup song. Like that's all I really got out of it, except for the one part I thought was kind of cool, or a little bit deeper, was where he talks about looking back at the relationship, like looking into the Milky Way. And for me, with like a science, background, it's the whole thing of, looking at the stars, that light is actually like super old by the time it actually comes to you. So it's like looking back in time. So I don't know if that was intentional in the song, but I don't know. That kind of stood out to me.
Cool.
That is cool.
I'm going to disagree with Caleb here because he said there's nothing wrong with this song. I will say this is a breakup song that sucks. Everything about it sucks. The lyrics suck. The music sucks. There's nothing noteworthy about the song other than how forgettable it is. It should probably be on the Green album.
Wow.
The song itself is almost as sad as Rivers was when he wrote it, I would say. But hang on, because we have a better song up next. In fact, the best one on the album.
I love this song. If you asked me what your opinion for two songs from this album, the best two, I'd say Unspoken, and this would be the second.
Absolutely.
I love how catchy this song is, and like it sounds like that they're using like a Middle Eastern instrument or some kind of instrument at the beginning, and through the whole song, I'd say that this is also a great song lyrically. Kind of, and then like the lyrics. So River's voice in the verses also sounds great as well, in my opinion.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
Oh my god.
I think this is not even close to the best song on the
Get
album.
the frig out of
It's
here.
not a bad song, but it's not
That's
as
the
good
first
as...
logical thing you've said in the past 20 seconds. Sorry, continue.
It's simply not as good as several other songs on the album. It's kind of creepy. Like, he's saying... The whole song is about how he's, like, planning to go after this girl who they're actually not... They don't really want to be together. Because he keeps saying, over and over, we swore it was over. This is the right song, right?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
song. Yeah.
Okay, just make sure I'm not getting them mixed up. Over and over, we swore it was over, and yet love between us grows. It's like they've got this friends with benefits thing going on, where like they don't want to be romantically involved, but when they get together, they can't help it, and it's like, and then he's enjoying it and saying, "I'm like going for it. We're gonna be more than friends," and it's just, I don't know. It feels creepy to me. Like he's taking advantage of her kind of in a way where like obviously them over and over saying it's over, like he still wants to keep going and making a bad situation continue. So I don't like it lyrically at all. Musically it is good. It's not the best, but it's good musically.
I feel like I never really thought too much about that line before, and you just kind of ruined it for me a little bit. But I'll tell the rest of my opinions after John goes, because I'd love to hear his thoughts.
So I actually didn't write down anything about the music itself for this song, but I mean, from what I remember, it was good. It was catchy. I think the lyrics just kind of spoke to me, in a way, or they made me think, I guess. So at the beginning, I was kind of confused because, like Stephen was saying, it's over and over. They swore it was over, but you're kind of like, okay, it seems like a weird timeline of you swore it was over, but then he's starting something. So it's almost like the beginning and end at the same time. So what I don't know, the vibe I was getting from it is he, say they were in a relationship, they broke up, something ended. They're not enemies, though. They're not, it wasn't like a terrible breakup, but he keeps trying to make new first impressions to win her back. That's kind of, I don't know, that's what I was kind of taking from it. And I thought the interesting thing, too, in the song is he tells her to hang on, I think in each chorus, tells her to hang on, but really he's the one that's holding on. So I don't know. Yeah, that's my take on the song.
I like that a lot, and I think that's similar to my take. I think it's a beautiful song about not giving up on a girl. I think it's inspiring, and it is catchy, and it's probably my favorite on the album. I used to think I could relate to it, so that made me like it more, but I don't really think so anymore. So it's kind of almost, it's like a sad wishful thinking throwback song for me. Like thinking back to like, oh, when I thought it was going to work out with this girl, even though it's like, oh, it didn't seem like it was going to, and something like kind of like what Jon sings. I had an experience, and it was like, oh, something bad had happened, and then I thought, I'm gonna make this right. I just hang on, because I'm getting to that spot where I'm good enough. I don't know.
Interesting.
But like, or the thought process. Oh, like, no, she'll change her mind one day. Like I love that girl. I'm gonna be with her one day. So I don't know. It's like it is a combination for me. I'd say I used to love it more, but I still love it a whole lot. And I love the strings in it. And I forgot to start off with the question that this one begs. Or doesn't beg. Sorry, I said the wrong thing again. The question that the beginning of this song makes me ask is, am I at a wedding? So yeah, I love the strings that started out and everything and then throughout it. And the music video version of the song is actually better than the album version. There's like additional guitars, I think, in it or something. Plus, the music video is pretty rad. It's very flashy and it's a little more uppity. So let's go to Smart Girls.
Smart Girls.
So this song isn't awful. It's not bad. It's not. It's more of a background song, but at the same time, I guess it's different for each person, honestly. Sounds like he's dating multiple people. Maybe his wife likes that. And it's a very interesting song, but I'll just leave it to that.
Okay. John?
I thought it had a really catchy tune and tempo. It was a song that was full of energy, but it was almost, which kind of reflects his mental state in it too. He's full of energy, he's excited, but he's got too many options. He's like, oh, there's all these girls around me. What do I do? And he isn't not settling, but like he's not deciding on one to even, go and talk to really. And so he's just kind of almost stuck in this place between them, where even if he did, step out and take the initiative, you don't get the sense that he really knows what he'd do if that happened.
Yeah, this it's a really fun song. It's catchy. I like it a lot. Unfortunately, I can relate to this song. I just had a conversation with my therapist this week about how this is a problem for me. Like, there's so many high quality women, out there, and it's like, how can I choose one when there's so many women around me that I'm attracted to? Like, not that that's like a pressing issue. It's just like, it's a bad mentality to have. It's a bad situation to be in. So, like, on one hand, I really enjoy the song because it's a fun song and I relate to it. On the other hand, I hate that I relate to it, and I really don't like that. But I do like the song, regardless.
Well, I'm going to say that this song reminds me of a youthful stage of first starting to be interested in girls and realizing, wow, gosh dang, girls are great. I just wish that I had so many options, as River seems to think that he has. But judging by River's previous experiences, as well as my own, Yumi, Sherry, Allison, Mary, Sheena, Lola, Fabiola, Lisa, Brittany, Paula, Whitney, Debbie, Donna, Tatiana want nothing to do with him. They're just girls that he knows, and they're probably not interested.
Yeah, it's probably accurate.
Yeah, and I'd say
You never know until you try.
it's really cool how he says "smart girls," and then the guitar goes "wee wee," like exactly how he says "smart girls."
So why are they smart though?
I don't know.
What's the meaning behind that?
It's an attractive thing when girls are smart. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say one thing about this song to end it off for this song is what a solo. This is the best solo in a Weezer song since Make Believe. The past two albums, no guitar solos have even come close to being this good. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Moving on to Brave New World, I'm actually gonna have Steven start this one.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. This is an interesting song for a couple of reasons, at least to me. So first off, it seems to be about him deciding that he's gonna shoot his shot with a girl that he's interested in. He's like, hey, I'm interested. I'm just gonna go out and say, like, shoot my shot, and if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna move on. I'm just not gonna stay in this limbo stage of not knowing whether you like me back or not. And he's saying this is a brave dawning of a brave new world, where it's like, up till this point, Rivers has always been really not good at handling situations like this, and relationships always like full of self-pity and identity crises because of these situations where he just doesn't know what to do about his relationship. So it's like a really good I guess point in time for Rivers, where he's saying this is a dawning of a brave new world, where he's taking a whole different approach. He's confident he's going to do this, whether it works or not. So that's cool. And also, this song to me seems like it's very obviously referencing the song Age of Aquarius, which is a song from the 70s by hippies. Because the chorus intro sounds pretty much the same. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Whereas in this one, it's this is the dawning of a brave new world. So it's like very similar in that way. And then he also says, I think it's the bridge. He says something about people blossoming in the sun, which could be referencing flower children blossoming. And the last half of the song, Age of Aquarius, is Let the Sun Shine In. So I don't know why they're so heavily referencing that song with this song, but I don't know. It just really stood out to me.
So I don't disagree. I just don't think it's necessarily about a girl. I know it mentions it in the beginning, but it doesn't seem to be the focus of the song. Okay. So it's something. It's almost like the girl is something that it could be about, but it felt like it was in one or two lines, and there wasn't really much else kind of bringing it back to the whole relationship part of it. So I think it could have been anything. Like the song, it starts out that way, but it really represents kind of any pivotal moment in his life where he needs to take a leap of faith, but he can't see where it's going to go. You just kind of know that, hey, this is a defining moment in my life, and it's going to be different from here on out, but I can't tell whether it's going to be for good or for bad.
I like that, because I didn't really think about it as far as being, I felt like the girl part of it was a very minimal thing. It's like that's one aspect, and he's like, if it doesn't work out, that's fine, but whatever he's doing, he doesn't know what it is, but he's going for it. It's like leaving his old life behind. So what I wrote for this is, I never liked this song, but now I love it. The music in the verses is really great. The chorus seems a little sloppy and lacking, but lyrically it makes up for that. It's got really cool leads in the verses as well. The intro, guitar to it sounds very ominous, which doesn't really fit the vibe of the song. It almost the guitar sounds like doom and gloom, which I think maybe kind of portrays the scariness of entering this brave new world.
When the doom music kicks in.
So lyrically, I have an appreciation for it now, and it's about having an optimism about the future, even though it's scary, which I feel like I can relate to. And I feel like I'm in a similar stage where I can relate to it more, so I appreciate it more. And I like the line, "We'd hate to leave our shelter, but there's so much waiting out there." I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And let's hear what Caleb has to say about Brave New World.
Me personally, I think lyrically and melody, Brave New World is a good song lyrically and melody. And I have nothing to complain about this song. It's not an extremely amazing song, as the point where I'd be playing it all the time, but I still really like this song overall.
Cool. Well, the fact that we're now at the last song of the album really goes to show that time flies. So I'm going to also have Caleb's thoughts to start us off for Time Flies.
I see what you did there.
Alright, so most people think that this song sounds awful, and it does sound awful to me, but I like how catchy the song is, and I like the lyrics of this song, and it's very understandable. So that's what makes the song so likable and so great. Not because of how the song sounds like Pinkerton, but because of the lyrics on this song.
I think that's actually a really good catch. That it does actually sound very Pinkerton-y.
I literally wrote that in my notes.
Really?
Well. Yeah.
I've never thought that before. But yeah, the way that the music really kind of sucks, it sounds like it would be on Pinkerton. Let's go John, Stephen, me. All right?
Sure. So I don't know what Pinkerton is.
It's their second album.
But okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just wrote down mariachi. I don't know, I got mariachi band vibes from this song. And in the song, and so that had its own thing. It was interesting. It was kind of had to think about it and chew on it for a while to decide if I liked it or not. Still haven't decided. But I got the sense in it that the song's about, he's saying time flies when you're having fun, time flies when this is happening and that, and it sounds like there's supposed to be good things, and he's saying that everything's fine, but you feel like he doesn't really believe that. You know, it's almost more of a sad like, yeah, you know, this time passed, and yeah, I guess it was all right. But you know, he hasn't convinced himself, even though he's trying to convince you. You also, you know, it's the last song on the album, and you get the sense that it's a closure song. I don't know, there's something just about it, kind of like closing time. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
the tune wasn't similar, but it was just kind of the same feeling that you got at the end, where it's winding down. You know, it's the end of something, right? Yeah, that's what I've got.
Yeah, so the first thing I wrote was the sound quality is terrible for some reason. It sounds like Pinkerton. It really annoyed me because it feels like it was intentional. Like they were trying to make it sound cool, I guess, somehow, but it just sounds bad. So I kind of felt pissed off that they did that. I think they were going for a 50s type style vibe because the chorus did make me think of a 50s song, the way that the melody is. And because the sound quality is so bad, just like, well, they didn't have good technology back then, but we do now, so maybe don't do that. But yeah, what I noticed about the lyrics was it seems like he's singing about how he's not having fun the whole time. He's singing about how like life is a drag, and yet he says time flies when you're having fun, almost like he's just saying it ironically, like time flies whether you have fun or not. And he says he's gonna get buried, but he's not gonna be dead or something like that.
Because you'll live on through this song.
Yeah, it's like this song is never gonna be in my head because
No.
it's not good.
It's slightly catchy, but
Well, I don't even remember how it goes at this moment. But yeah.
okay. I'm gonna say this is my last song on the album that asks a question. Obviously, because it's the last song on the album. The question that this song makes me ask is, am I at a bar mitzvah in a laundry room with a washing machine that is clearly broken beyond repair? But yeah, like it's like when the drum comes in, it just sounds like a broken washing machine. So yeah, the song is lyrically a nice enough idea, but wow, what a terrible close to the album. And with that being said, we are going to move on to our overall thoughts and our star ratings, 1 to 5. So I'm going to put it to Caleb for his little review here first.
Alright, so my final rating and review for this album. It's understandable a bit more than most of the albums. This whole album is kind of like Pinkerton. It's like a better version of Pinkerton almost, except not as popular. It sounds like Pinkerton, but musically it does not. Musically, it sounds great, and lyrically it sounds great for most of the songs, and it's probably probably the least confusing Weezer album when it comes to lyrics.
That's actually very fair.
As well, what I mean by it sounds like Pinkerton is because of how they use instruments and how chaotic it is. But like that has nothing to do with the music, like the melody of it, just the instruments and what they choose to add and not. I'd probably rate this album a 3.6, I'd say, and it's not an album that I go crazy for. It's just like there's nothing wrong with it, and it has some pretty great songs on it. So 3.6, I think it deserves that. And yeah.
John?
So for me, this was, you know, like I mentioned at the beginning, kind of an analysis of the album and the band in general, because I haven't listened to Weezer enough to really know anything about them. I'll go with the album first. So for me, it seemed like every song had a back and forth in it. There was a lot of humming and hawing, and it was kind of like, you know, it was a story. Each song was a story, and you know, the character would jump back and forth, make progress, and then backstep. And it was also just a lot of simultaneous, like, yes and no at the same time. That's kind of the only way I could really think of to describe it. But it was, you know, the character, or River, I guess, is in their own head. And really unsure in most of the songs. For Weezer in general, I enjoyed it. It was definitely an experience. I kind of clump them into the same boat, at least in my music list, as like, say, I don't know, maybe a little bit of Reliant K and a little bit of Marianas Trench. They've still got their own sound though. Like, I wouldn't say they're the exact same style. I don't really have much else to compare Weezer to.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the closest I would put them to from who I've listened to regularly.
Okay.
And for the album, I would give it 2.5. I didn't hate it, but it didn't really, really stand out to me either.
That's fair. Steven?
This album is kind of similar to Ratitude. I actually thought that some of these songs were on Ratitude on the deluxe edition, but they're on this one, so they kind of get mixed up in my head. So yeah, it's really high energy, fun album, and yet at the same time, a lot of the songs are kind of off-putting. Like, I found I was pretty uncomfortable a lot of the time listening to it. And part of that is because I actually relate to it more than I thought and more than I like to admit. So in a way it appeals to me, and in another way it does not. It's weird. It's interesting. So I do like the album overall. I like probably about half of the songs a lot. So I give it a 3.5.
So my thoughts on this album, it's got some bangers, and the bangers on it are like big bad boy bangers. They're good. Real good. But half the album kind of sucks. If they rearranged it differently, it would be very similar to some of the others, where it's like all the really great songs are on side A and then side B is abysmal. But this one, they really they really shuffled them around. It's like, I'm losing interest in this album. Oh, I really like it. So I give it a 2.8.
Okay.
And yeah. Oh, one thing I do have to ask you, John, before we close this off, because it was actually Caleb's idea to do this with each of our guests, is ask which was your favorite song on the album.
Ruling Me was probably my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there were parts of everyone that I liked, parts of others that I was like, okay, let's get back to the chorus.
Huh.
But Ruling Me did stand out just musically to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's fair. I think that's like the most balanced song probably on the album.
Well, thank you again, John, for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure for me as well.
This
yeah.
has been
WEEZCAST! Thanks for joining us. Next week we will be back with Everything Will Be Alright in the End.